Maybe try and live a Cobelta, snags a kill. Now they'd like it. Oh, he's gonna go down. Michael swoops back in with her on to Adrian. The knockup again to channel through. The tide is in. That's gonna be one. That should be a second. Altec. That long the world.
Hey guys, Parks Owsley here, joined by Doublelift of Team Liquid. Congrats on your win. You are close to being clinched in the playoffs. We'll see what happens after this game. Talk to me a little bit about your team's growth this year, since we haven't been able to see all of that on stage.
Yeah, I think part of it is in best of ones. You can really mess up the draft and lose the entire series off of it because you don't have any adaptation. And like for us, I think we've been really too flexible with what we want, and so what ends up happening is when everyone on the team is willing to make sacrifices for each other, you end up with a lot of nothing. Like you don't have like a central strategy or like a foundation for your team. And I guess one lesson I took away from this split is sometimes it's better to just one trick one strategy and build from that. Like it's kind of how in solo queue you can one trick a champion and you get the challenger, and eventually like just by being in challenger you can learn the game, expand outwards. But for us, we were trying so many different things, and like there's just a little too much flexibility, and in the end like we would go on stage and like even though we learned so much, we would just not really stick to the basics for our team. And I think this meta, it's pretty obvious that bottom is extremely important, and like I'm still really confident that my laning phase is one of the best, if not the best. And like the only way that I ever really lose is like just by getting spam ganked. I don't really ever get out pressured 2v2. Usually just happens when we have bad coordination and communication. So like just by nature of that, I think we should be able to win most games. But we didn't have great picks. We didn't have a great like team mindset coming in. So I mean, it's just kind of like the same old stuff, Like we'll see what happens when it comes in playoffs.
For sure. And I talked to your Doublelift. I talked to Ole last week, and he mentioned he was trying to do a little bit more of the calling, try and make sure that he's always communicating. Has that been able to take any pressure off of you?
Yeah, I think for me, like when I first joined the team, I realized that Smithy calls a lot of the early game, Impact calls a lot of like top lane focused things, but when it comes to like the overall macro of the team, it's pretty much just me. It's like it's hard for me to play AD carry and like make calls about vision, when we should group, when we should split, which lane allocation, like who's going to what lane, what side of the map we're playing to, what objective we're playing towards, like what the enemy team is doing. So like at first I was so overwhelmed, and like when you have that much responsibility, you can't really keep track of it all. So slowly we've been divvying it out, and I feel a lot better like recently, where I think my responsibilities are a little bit more narrowed.
That's good.
Yeah.
And this game we saw you guys face up against the Zyra Khan, which has been very strong. What was your kind of thought? How did you end up having the advantage early and then getting all the way to late game where that combo really takes off?
I think Caitlyn Morgana has like pretty good laning phase against Zyra Khan, and when I play an abusive matchup, I feel like I'm really good at abusing it to the max. And that was a game where like their jungler just could never ever go topside. Our jungler was free to do whatever he wanted, so the real downside was really just we sacrificed too much mid lane, and so like their mid lane was winning. So we have a free jungler, they have a free mid laner, but we're winning 2v2, so like we're just constantly forcing the enemy team to send resources bot. But when we send resources, like we're gonna get a lot. And I think like just the way that we played the game was like executed well, and it was a strategy I'm really comfortable with, which is just like funneling resources into my lane.
Awesome. It was fun to watch for sure. Assuming you make it to playoffs, assuming this game did it for you, do you go into next week with more of a practice on stage mindset, or still of a just hammer out the kinks, get back to the basics?
I think we're really just, if we stuck to the same things, we'd be winning a lot more games. I think we were just focused on like improving our team's communication, improving our team's mindset. Like why are we constantly making these mistakes on stage? And yeah, I think there's just a lot of small things that kind of need to be brushed up on. I think our team really knows the basics of the game super well. We're all world-class players. Like we've been the Worlds. We've all won like splits except for Ole. So I'm not super worried about the basics. I'm worried when we get to playoffs that that will be stuck at the basics. And maybe we're a little too tunnel on that, but there will be teams in playoffs, I don't want to name names, but there will be teams in playoffs who could never get past the basics of the game, and those are the teams that are on like the downward trend.
Awesome. Well, I'm interested to see how that plays out. Any thoughts about C9 or Optic specifically?
C9 or Optic? Optic is out of playoffs, no?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's just your 2 matchups next week.
Oh, right. I'm not worried about Optic. They seem to stop carrying. Like, they've been playing Draven. And I wouldn't really even say I'm worried about C9. I think we're mainly focused on what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we not playing our game when we get on stage? Like, why are we not here to, like, play aggressive? Why are we not here to, like, just stomp all over the enemy team?
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to get in that mindset for probably the first time in this split. Like, even in week 1, I think we had that mindset. And then
Mm-hmm.
now we're trying to get back into week 10. I'm not worried about C9. Like, I think they're a good team for sure, but I know we can win.
Awesome. Yeah. Sweet. All right, lastly before we go, I got to talk to some of your fans, and we put together a RPG character for you.
Oh, wow.
So what we have here is, if you were in a game where, open world, you have a character, this is what they said that your traits would be.
Wow.
So there were quite a few fanboys out there, and then some people were like, no, we can't give them 10s on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it came down to, you're an archer.
Okay.
You've got 7 on the, I rounded up for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fanboy too.
Thank
You've got wisdom at 7, strength at 7, speed at 6. Apparently you're not quite as fast. Your health is at 6. You've got Thicc 10 on the charm.
Wow, I can't believe that.
You had 10s across the board, and the last group I talked to you was like, he's just like so thick. And I was like, whoa. Anyway, so you've got some admirers. And then lastly, your luck is a 1. Never lucky rubber ducky.
Yeah.
However, the last group I talked to also said, who needs luck when you're that skilled? They even went to call you a god. So
wow.
Yeah. So there
These
you
are
go.
some amazing. I want to meet these guys and like shake their hands. That's so nice.
They're out there. But of course, you are your own biggest fanboy. So would you give yourself 10 out of 10?
I'm not strong or fast. I think I would honestly put my will at 10. Like, in terms of, wait, will as in health or will as in, like, resolve?
I guess resolve.
Yeah, I'd put my resolve at 10. I think I work really hard, but, like, the other things, I'm not, like, naturally smart or strong or fast. So, they're on top of that. Like, I think I'm an archer.
Awesome. So, humble Doublelift, archer, and he's pretty dang good at this game. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck going forward. Thanks, guys.
Peace.